Hi, I am Mia Lamont, your host for the Brand Disruptors podcast. I've been a disruptor all my life, and I'm here to help other women step into their own greatness so that they can get paid to be themselves. I decided to start this podcast because I wanted to show other women how I and women like me took their life's disruptions and changed their lives and the lives of others, not to mention broke the mold in their industries. Look, branding is all about who you are at your core, the person that your soul is calling you to be. So get ready to step into your power, own your authenticity, and show up like the boss that you are. If you enjoy all aspects of personal development, you are in the right place. Let's get started. Welcome back, y'all, to Disruptor Day, the client edition in February. But I'm excited about this one for y'all. Vonne is one of my longest standing clients. Yes. Love her to death. We have some of the best conversations, and sometimes our coaching calls turn into 3-hour sessions that really should have been books or movies or something of the sort. They should definitely be like teaching sessions, but we keep them to ourselves, or we go out and we bring them to our clients in a different kind of way, right? So I'm going to bring her on up in a minute. So I hope you guys have gotten your drinks, you've taken your bio breaks, all of the things, because what Vonne and I are going to be talking about today is probably a new idea for a lot of people. I was talking to a group of folks this past Tuesday night, and it occurred to me that this may be an old school problem. So she and I might unpack some of that too. So without further ado, I'm going to bring her up because I don't really know how to work this StreamYard yet, y'all. But I know how to bring people in and out. I don't know how to talk to them backstage. So I'm going to bring Vonne up live, and we're going to just start having this conversation. So here we go. Welcome, ma'am.
Hey,
How are you?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you just fine. Can you hear me?
Yes. Okay.
Okay, awesome.
I've never used StreamYard, so this is all.
It's all new to you too, right? She's like, let me make sure I get in. Let me make sure. Look, it's a thing. It's a whole other learning curve. Like you got Zoom, you got all this other stuff, and
exactly.
we just learn as we go, right?
Right.
Yes. So for the sake of the people who don't know you, yes, you want to introduce yourself a little bit, talk about who you are, what you
do. Okay.
All the things you do.
My name is Vonne Jacobs. I think the best way to describe myself is I am an equity advocate. So I am by training and experience a healthcare attorney. I've been practicing law for about 20 years, primarily in the healthcare space. I advise healthcare providers, specifically about regulatory matters, and I help them do deals. So I'm a mergers and acquisitions lawyers. I buy and sell healthcare facilities and try to keep everybody on the straight and narrow, doing what they're supposed to do. So that's what I do as I would consider my day job. Mm-hmm. But in that and in everything else that I do, I am an advocate for equity. So I'm a person who believes that the world should function in a way that works for all of the people in it. And the systems that we currently have do not do that. So I spend my time trying to shift those systems and create new ones that do work for everyone. So in my job as a lawyer, I do that with my clients and helping them make decisions and design processes that are more equitable than the ones that they have. As a speaker, I do that by advocating and speaking about equity, diversity, equity, and inclusion, and specifically in the healthcare and legal industries. And as a coach and trainer, I work with Black women attorneys and Black women healthcare professionals and helping them create lives that are equitable. So I coach them around things related to their career and their personal lives so that they can have personal equity, professional equity in their own lives, and then they can go create that for other people.
Told y'all she was busy. See, this is why we have 3-hour sessions.
Yes, it is why we have 3-hour sessions.
Because we're passionate about a lot of the same things, although we may not work with the same people, or, I'm not a trained attorney and I don't work with healthcare professionals. as a rule, maybe not a rule, but anyway, that was an inside joke, and pardon me for doing that. Vonne,
Yeah.
tell us, I mean, just the work that you're doing alone is disruptive, right? Because you are disrupting status quo, you're challenging a lot of the old norms. You work in some pretty conservative fields.
Yes.
Where the cis white male is dominating or has always dominated. So how are you helping to disrupt that in the industries like the medical field and the legal field? And then I want to talk about this new position that you took on and how you created what you created for yourself.
Okay. I mean, honestly, I think the thing that I do that is the most disruptive is that I am honest.
Oh,
I have stopped concerning myself with other people's feelings, and not like in a mean way, but like just I am not going to trade honesty for comfort. So when I see something, I say something. And I try my best to say it with tact and with kindness and all of those things, but I say it. And that in and of itself, particularly in the legal industry, is very disruptive because we are trained from the first day of law school to assess situations and say the most expedient thing, to say the thing that is most likely to be accepted by the people in the room, but not necessarily the thing that, in my mind, is most honest and most effective for achieving the ultimate goal. My ultimate goal is always equity. So I am going to speak into the things that I think are going to get us one step closer to equity. And sometimes that hurts people's feelings. And I've just gotten to the point in my life and in my career where I am willing to take that risk because I think it's important. Sometimes that works for me. Sometimes that works a little less than I would like it to work for me. But overall, it does work for me because I can sleep at night.
Let's back up to a conversation that you and I had. I'm gonna tell a little bit of your business.
Okay.
You were cleaning out a storage unit, or you were moving some things, and you took a glance at your book collection, right? What did your book collection tell you about yourself?
So this was so funny. So your niece Courtney was helping me get my life and particularly get my space together. And one of the things that we were doing was going through all of the stuff that I had. And I have a lot of books. I've been a lover of reading since I was a kid, and I've collected tons and tons of books. And I've never really paid attention to all of the books that I've had, but in that process, we're looking through all my books, and all of my books are about Black women, by Black women, about the experience of Black women, for Black women, about Black people and our history and our resilience and our strength and our struggle. And I had never really noticed before that I had been compiling all of these things my whole life. Like some of these books I've had for 30 years, right? But I've always been inspired by and interested in our stories. And it wasn't until I actually saw them all laid out that I realized that my whole life I have been preparing myself to do what I'm doing now. I have been, without even understanding it or even seeing it, learning the things that I needed to learn, experiencing the things that I needed to experience. Like this journey was purposeful. This journey was intentional. Even if I didn't understand that that's what it was, from the very beginning, I have been about this work. From the very beginning, I have been concerned, particularly about Black women, and wanting to understand what concerns us and wanting to make things better for us. And I didn't until I saw literally 30 years worth of books in boxes, and they were all, I'm looking at my bookshelves right now. Like I keep doing this thing because my bookshelves right now are literally books about Black history, Black women expressing themselves, and the legal and healthcare industries. And that is what my bookshelf looks like. And it's always looked like that.
So what we discovered as we talked about this book thing, is that it's always been a value of yours. And
Yeah.
you always, like, when you talk to, who was it that you talked to in your family, and they said that you were always picking up strays and wanting to make
Oh,
sure everybody had what they needed.
yeah, my mom and my aunties always tell me that I'm always like rescuing people, always trying to find, make sure people's needs are met. Um, and sometimes that's to my detriment, but that's a difference. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But yes,
Yeah.
uh,
So you found, like, you were already in your purpose, but it needed some tweaking. Yes.
yeah. I mean, I think I needed to number one recognize it. I didn't have an understanding that it was a thing.
Mm.
I've just always naturally been into that sort of stuff and inclined toward that stuff, but I've never really put a name on it. I've never really sort of pulled it all together and really understood what it meant and then what I could do with it.
Yes.
And that's what the work has been for me for like the last, how long have I been? 6, 7 years now.
Yes.
Has been sort of going through that process and getting into understanding myself better and understanding how I relate to those things better, and then what I want to do with that information and that understanding.
So beautifully put. So, like, if you're struggling, so if somebody's struggling with owning who they are, even kind of like figuring out where they need to be in the world, like, based on your experience and based on, like, the things that we just kind of talked about, like, what would you tell them? Like, what would be some clues for them to look at?
I would honestly say literally look around you. Like
Mm.
one of the things when we first started working together and you were just my stylist and that's all,
That's a
whatever.
whole other
Yeah.
conversation, right?
But when I came to you looking for wardrobe advice and sort of things, and we started looking at my closet, and what we realized was in my actual office closet were all the colors that are in my palette, were all of my favorite colors, the colors that are now my brand colors. I had notebooks from years ago that were that color. I had pens that were in that color. That teal that is mine has always been a part of my life. But I didn't notice it before, right? I didn't notice it. I didn't take any time to look. So I would say take the time to look around you and see the things that repeatedly show up, whether
Mm.
they are topics of discussion, books, whether they are colors, whether they are, certain visual aesthetics that just repeatedly show up in your life. If there's something that has been with you and been a part of you and repeatedly show up in your life for the last decade, you might want to find out a little bit more about that and think about what that means to you. Uh,
Yes.
but notice, I mean, it's honestly the first step in everything that we've ever done is noticing.
Hmm.
But you got to make room for that. You got to make time for that. We're so busy and so distracted that we don't spend any time noticing anything.
That is so true. That is so true. And then I think that the other thing that kind of cemented it for you, because we both kind of did this same work at the same time, was the Strengths Finder, the Click
Yeah.
34 Strengths Finder. Like, y'all, that Gallup thing is amazing. We know somebody who's a coach, so if you want to, I'm gonna have her on here.
Yeah.
But the thing about it is, like, when you have an assessment tool like that that validates everything that you think that you are, or maybe even was on the fence and questioning, that thing will help you and get you straight.
The strengths finder, I mean, I've always liked personality tests and stuff like that and all that kind of stuff, but the strengths finder for me gave me a new level of vocabulary that I did
Mm.
not have before.
Yes, and you love words.
And I love words. I'm
Yes,
I'm precision of language is my thing, right? And
absolutely.
so when I got the strengths finder results back and I had a whole new vocabulary that was also professionally oriented that I could use to describe myself and what I do. Like equity advocate is something that came out of my strengths finder because I never, even though I'm a trained lawyer and advocacy is what I never thought of myself as an advocate per se, but that is what I do. That is who I am and always have been. It was in my strengths finder. That was one of the words that was in that little pile of stuff. Having that vocabulary has been so empowering because now I have a whole new set of words I can use that will resonate first with me,
Hmm.
and then I can use to communicate with others more effectively. So I love that thing.
So, how did it help you to grow your brand besides the
So
communication piece? Because that's huge, right?
yeah, I mean, number one, it gave me language, but it also helped me, I think, really appreciate things about myself I didn't notice that I took for granted.
Ooh, that's big.
Because, and we've talked about this, when things come easy to you, you don't think they're a big deal, right? You think everybody does what you do. And you don't appreciate how amazing and awesome you can be, right?
Right.
So I'm a planner, I am a deep thinker, I am an intellectual, like those things, that is what I do, right? And I do it naturally. It is what I do. Everybody doesn't do that. And having that show up as a strength on my strengths finder, having that that logic piece of me and that stuff be validated as a strength and something that I should be proud of and I should advertise. And now I have language to advertise it with that doesn't make me feel bad, because that's another thing, socialized as a woman.
Yes.
Talking about yourself
Right?
and bragging about yourself
Yeah.
and talking about your strengths is bad, right? So having that vocabulary, having that language, having that structure helped me develop the confidence to tell people with a straight face, I am a tactician. I am a planner. I am a strategist. I am an advocate, and to say that, as I like to say, with the confidence of a mediocre white man. But like I have, but with the skills of an amazing Black woman, right? Like to know that I have the skills to back it up, but to be able to have that language and to be able to assert myself in that way when I don't think I really, really appreciated that about myself before, and appreciated that it was a strength, that it was something that not everybody could do, that it didn't come easy to everybody. And so it had value that I wasn't giving it.
And tell me how all of this that you just talked about parlayed you into one of the best, let me say, one of the most aligned positions of your career.
Okay. So yeah, this is gonna be
I love the story.
So, I had been in some professional situations that weren't working well for me. And so I decided to take a break and started my own consulting firm and really, really liked it, right? I liked being my own boss. I liked being able to design my day, to work with the people that I wanted to work with in the way that I wanted to work with them. And I really enjoyed that. But there were things that I missed about sort of big law practice that I didn't realize I was going to miss when I first sort of stepped away. And I wanted to find a way to get back into some of that without losing the autonomy that I'd created for myself and the freedom that I'd created for myself, but starting my own business. And so I was talking to a friend who's been literally for a decade trying to recruit me to join her law firm and come work with her. And she was saying, I'm telling you, you can have what you want at this place. Just talk to them, right? So I said, fine, I'm going to have this conversation. And it was really about, so she would leave me alone and stop asking me.
So you were not invested in it at all.
I was not invested in it, but I said, okay, I'm going to do it. And once I decided that I was going to do it, I sat down with myself and I said, okay, if you're going to have this conversation, you're going to go in here and you're going to tell them for the first time in your life, you're going to go in and say exactly what it is you will and will not do. So I had to get really clear with myself about what I was willing to do and what I wasn't willing to do. I wasn't willing to put on a suit. I wasn't willing to go into an office every day. I wasn't willing to do all of the political BS that comes with law firm life. I didn't want to do it. I knew I could feed myself without all of that. So I wasn't about to sign back up for that. Right. I was willing to work hard. I was willing to contribute to a team. I was willing to go out there and network and create and, generate business for the firm and do all that kind of stuff and speak and all that. Perfectly happy to do all of that. But I wasn't willing to do what I considered unnecessary. And I went into this conversation and the first thing that I said to them was, really glad to meet you. So excited that we're going to have this conversation. But before we get too far down this road, I want you to understand this about me. These are the things that I'm not willing to do. If that is a problem for you, that is fine. We don't have to have any more conversation past this one. If it's not a problem for you, let's talk some more. That was the first time I had ever even said to myself that this is a no. And to then say that out loud to people I was interviewing with, right?
Yeah.
I flipped the whole thing on its head.
Yeah.
I decided that I was interviewing them. They were not interviewing me.
Mm-hmm.
I decided that there was no point in going through this whole sort of skit and this whole process if I wasn't going to get what I wanted at the end of the day. And there was no point in lying about what I wanted.
Right.
So,
absolutely.
Now, some people thought I was absolutely crazy. And I think I might have thought I was absolutely crazy, but I was also tired. I was tired of putting everyone else's needs and desires before mine.
Mm.
And I just chose in that moment to say, okay, these are the things that matter to me. If they are a problem for you, that's fine. I don't have to be here. We don't, and it doesn't have to mean anything about either of us other than we just weren't meant to be together.
You were unattached to the outcome.
I was unattached to the outcome, but I was very attached to my values. I was very attached to my worth and what I was bringing to the table. And I was very attached to walking away from something that wasn't going to serve me.
Ooh, who else is willing to do that? A lot of people are not strong enough to walk away. Yes, Elena, we've all had conversations about, what if I walk away? What if you stay? What if you stay in a situation that is not like you have some something to say about that too, don't you?
Yeah.
Staying in a situation that does not work for you.
Yeah. I mean, literally almost killed myself a couple times, working myself to death in situations that weren't serving me. Right. And when you get to the point where you are so broken that you are literally physically falling apart, mentally falling apart, and thinking about doing things that are so out of character for you, staying is not, you aren't winning anything in that regard. And so getting over the fear that making that leap is going to somehow be worse. Well, what could be worse than being miserable all the time? What could be worse than like literally, your heart stopping, or what could be worse than that? Being unemployed is not worse than that.
Say it again, because I think that a lot of people believe that being unemployed is the worst thing that could ever happen to us in life. Like we have, like as humans, and I think mostly Americans, we've got this whole thing backwards. Like, quality of life, yeah, it does. You do have to have money to have quality of life, but you can't have quality of life if you broke, like physically broke.
Yeah. I mean, and the thing I had to really come to understand is that I was always going to be able to feed myself, right?
Yeah.
I mean, now would I be doing it the way that I would have wanted to? Maybe not. Might I have to take some ego hits? Possibly.
Yeah.
But I was always going to be able to be okay, right?
Yeah.
And once I got to that understanding that I was always going to be okay and that I could build from okay, then letting go became a little bit easier. But yeah, I mean, the scariest thing from the time that we were kids, we are taught that, oh, you got to have a job. You got to have a job. You can't just be out here doing nothing.
Right. Because you can't be lazy.
Yeah, you can't be lazy. You can't, like, what it says about you if you happen to have any sort of hiccup in your life is some sort of giant character flaw.
Right.
Well, I mean, that's just how life is. Life throws stuff at you all the time. And I had to figure out, well, do I want to be miserable and supposedly successful? Or do I want to be happy and maybe not making as much money? And, and that was even a temporary thing because it turns out I make more money happy than I did when I was unhappy.
Yes. So let's talk about that. Let's talk, because you said the word successful. So what does success mean to you today as opposed to what it meant to you when you graduated from your prestigious law school?
Success for me is now, does my life work? Like, am I a whole person who is out here in the world making the best of every moment of every day?
Ooh.
That is what success looks like to me. It is not the title that I have. It is not the job that I hold. It is not how much money I make. It's not the car that I drive. Now, I am a person who appreciates luxury. Let's not get it twisted.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
And I definitely have certain things that I like and want to have in my life. but I do not consider myself to not be successful because I am not currently driving my white Range Rover.
Right.
I will be driving my white Range Rover at some point in my life. It's just not at this point in my life.
Right.
I am still successful because I am a person who can get up in the morning and be like, okay, I'm excited about what's about to happen today.
Woo! And that's a whole word right there, y'all, because we had a couple months where I'm like, you're not excited about anything?
No. And it's hard for me to get excited about things because, you know, doing away with the brainwashing, right, that we've been programmed with our whole life and coming to understand things about myself. So I wasn't excited about things because, again, I was attaching value to things that weren't actually valuable to me.
Ooh.
So I was using other people's measuring sticks and saying, well, I'm not hitting those marks, so there's nothing for me to be excited about, right? We had to work, and it was a lot of work, and it's still a lot of work, for me to come to understand that the fact that I can work from home whenever I want to work from home, success. Because that's something that's important to me.
Because as introverts, we like to be at home.
I need my space. I need my space to be my way when I want it my way.
Absolutely.
That's something that I've worked really, I had to work really hard to make happen.
Yes.
But I've made that happen. That's a success. The fact that I can travel the way that I want to when I want to, COVID aside and all of that. But like, if I want to go see somebody, I can go see somebody, and it's not a big deal. I'm not going to be behind at work. I'm not going to be behind at whatever. It's not a whole guilt trip that I've worked through all that. Success.
Yes.
Now that's not on anybody's, that doesn't show up on anybody's success finder, resume list, whatever, Mark. It doesn't, but it's what makes me happy. It's what fulfills me. Being able to invest in young Black women, that fulfills me. That is success to me. To be able to say that somebody that I talked to who was a law student, 10 years ago is now a partner at a firm, had her first baby and is doing amazing, and came by to say thank you, success. I don't even remember what I told her 10 years ago.
Right.
But that the fact that I even had the opportunity to do that and that it made a difference to her, success. So I had to start creating my own standards and my own measuring sticks.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, okay, like as we do, the time is up. Like I can't,
okay.
I can't believe time is up, but I want to give you an opportunity to talk about Live.
Yeah.
This is something that, you created for Black attorneys and doctors, or just the attorneys?
Yeah, doctors. So what happened is I'm a healthcare lawyer. So the people that I run into most are lawyers and doctors, and particularly Black women in those industries, as in most industries, particularly in America.
Yeah, those are really conservative. So
are having a real hard time, and it really breaks my heart. And so I developed a program that is specifically to help support those women in those industries. And so it's called Lessons in Vonnerability, Live. Vonnerability is a play on my name. It's the thing I work the hardest at, but is the most rewarding for me. And it's really, I'm doing a new iteration of Live that is more of a group coaching program. And I am really focusing on how do I support women in these particular spaces so that they can design not just careers, but lives that work for them, where they thrive instead of just barely surviving. Because that's all we're doing right now is barely surviving. And particularly in healthcare, they ain't even doing that right now.
Yeah, healthcare is that's a whole other conversation. And of course, you'll be back.
I'll be back.
We'll talk more about like all of the things that you're doing, because what you did create for us or for the audience is an equity packet. So
so I'm an equity advocate, and I want everyone to understand that you can create equity in whatever sphere you're in. And so what I wrote, that guide is Top 10 Equity Wins. What are some really easy things that anybody who is running a business, who is operating in a business, who is walking through the world can do to create equity? And some of it's just as simple as creating accessibility on your website. If you have a website, did you look into like putting in sound and visual aids or whatever that can help people who might have different abilities be able to access you and access the information that you want to share?
Absolutely. So easy.
So easy stuff. And it's not as hard as we make it out to be. We just have to think a little bit.
Yeah, we actually have to think about it. because a lot of us don't have limitations, and we don't think about people who do and how they access our stuff, right?
Yeah. So that's what that is that what are the top 10 things that you can do easy peasy to start creating a world that is more equitable?
Any wise words you want to leave the audience with?
I will tell you, this is one of my favorite quotes because I'm actually working on a presentation for something and I'm planning to share this with them. Let go or get dragged.
Ooh.
Y'all need to start dropping some stuff that ain't working for you or it's going to drag you to hell.
I love that. I love that. That's going to be a play on our resistance thing that we learned in our training.
Yeah. Let go or get dragged.
Love it. Love it. All right, people, you heard it from Vonne. Let go or be dragged. We'll definitely have more conversations because I don't feel like we even scratched the surface.
You know how we do. We gotta have
we're gonna just do a whole day where we just talk. We're just gonna riff. And let y'all be a part of that. So Vonne, thank you so much for being here today.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And y'all get the guide so you can upgrade your website, your brand, whatever it is that needs upgrading to help other people so that it's more equitable. And check out Vonne. Like if you're a lawyer or a doctor, a Black female, and you're struggling, call her. She can absolutely help. You have, and that's on her Instagram. We have her Instagram handle there.
Yeah, and I'm gonna drop my link tree in the chat. I'll put it on the Disruptor Day chat so people can see it.
Perfect. And we can talk. Out there. Yep. Awesome. Thank you, Vonne.
All right. Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Thanks for listening to the Brand Disruptors podcast. I'm your host, Mia Lamont. And if you like what you just heard, I hope that you will pass along our web address at www.mialamont.com/podcast to your friends and colleagues. And please leave us a positive review on iTunes. Download this episode and any other episode that you found to be helpful. And be sure to check out our previous episodes and join me next time with another edition of the Brand Disruptors podcast.